In Oklahoma City, a time to thank today's heroes, the rescuers, as the search finally ends.
In London, a time to remember yesterday's heroes, the men and women who won the Second World War.
This is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather in London and Connie Chung in New York.
Good evening. It was an emotional scene in Oklahoma City today as rescue teams left the bombed-out federal office building for the last time. They recovered all the bodies they could, all of them but two. Then, as CBS News correspondent Vicki Mabry reports, it was time for a grateful city to say thank you.
Finally able to bring some peace to the families of the missing, rescuers today sought that peace for themselves.
We come today to remember their lives, and we come today to offer thanks. Thanks for the hundreds and hundreds of people who were involved in the rescue and recovery efforts.
Facing the bombed-out front of the federal building where they gave so much of themselves the past 2 weeks, they prayed and cried and gathered to give each other the strength to move on.
It just needs to be to an end finally, and this helps it a lot. You can put it away now.
Today's memorial thanks the police officers and firefighters, the doctors and nurses still caring for the injured, the FBI and ATF agents still combing through this crime scene.
We now realize how rare and beautiful the love in Oklahoma really is. Thank you, Oklahoma, for everything.
Workers called off their search shortly before midnight last night, recovering 164 victims, including 19 children. They could see but not reach the bodies of 2 women. In a still jittery city, another explosion at a grain elevator this morning frayed nerves even further. No injuries, little damage, but a frightening reminder. The memorial is not in the rubble, but in the hearts of those who loved the people who died there, and in the hands of those who helped the city make it through. Vicki Mabry, CBS News, Oklahoma City.
The hunt for suspects and leads has entered a new phase, and part of that search is concentrated on one of Timothy McVeigh's past locations in Arizona. Jim Stewart has the latest.
Federal agents went door to door in Kingman, Arizona today, showing residents pictures of known associates of suspected Oklahoma City bomber Tim McVeigh. Sources say agents are trying to determine who may have visited McVeigh when he lived in the small northwest Arizona town. Agents also questioned employees at the Kingman hardware store McVeigh worked at, confirming he once purchased a small amount of ammonium nitrate fertilizer there, just like the type used in the Oklahoma bomb.
He said, "What kind of a deal can you give me on this?" And I said, "Well, I'll tell you what, I don't usually carry it, so I'll make you a good deal on it. $8 a bag."
Meanwhile, the number of federal agents in Oklahoma City assigned to the case has been drastically cut back as authorities shift to a more methodical manhunt for the still missing suspect, John Doe 2. Sources say agents have questioned approximately 20 men fitting the description, only to discover each had an ironclad alibi. The John Doe number 2 business is starting to bother investigators more and more because no one they thought of as a potential suspect is unaccounted for, and the only person to provide them a description of the man may not have that good a memory. Jim Stewart, CBS News, Washington.
For his part, President Clinton was in East Lansing, Michigan today for a commencement speech at Michigan State University, and he used the occasion to rebuke the area's extremist militia groups right in their own backyard.
How dare you suggest that we in the freest nation on earth live in tyranny? How dare you call yourselves patriots and heroes? I say to you, all of you, the members of the class of 1995, there is nothing patriotic about hating your country or pretending that you can love your country but despise your government.
And coming up, how did some private citizens get their hands on the Pentagon's fighting vehicles? Also tonight, the Simpson trial. Has something changed since Oklahoma City?
And still to come on the CBS Evening News from London, a look at how the British see us 50 years after VE Day. and a listen to one of the great voices that brought World War II home to America.
This is London. There are no words to describe the thing that is happening.
It's a great time to be silver because you're over 50 and you haven't lost your edge. Now there's a Centrum made just for you. Centrum Silver for your changing nutritional needs. Centrum Silver. It's a great time to be silver.
I can't fall asleep.
I can't stay asleep. Try Nitol Quick Caps to fall asleep fast and get a good night's sleep. Get Nitol Quick Caps.
Nitol will help you get your Z's.
Who taught you how to shave your legs? Your mother?
You start with a bar of soap, work up a good lather.
Sometimes I use your father's shaving foam.
Skintimate Shave Gel. Goes on silky, foams up soft.
True, soap may dry your skin.
Skintimate has 7 moisturizers. It protects against the nicks and dryness a soap and water shave can cause.
These little bandages are a perfect fit.
Skintimate Shave Gel. There's no softer way to shave.
Federal agents are now investigating whether some fully operational U.S. armored personnel carriers are winding up in private arsenals instead of their scheduled destination. They were meant to be military surplus rendered harmless for museum display. National security correspondent David Martin has the story.
This is where the Pentagon sends most of its old weapons to die, dismantled and sold for scrap. But some military hardware, including one of these Abrams tanks, is falling into the hands of private citizens. Joseph McLean got 8 Vietnam-era armored personnel carriers through a government program which donates used weapons to museums. He told a local television station he was just trying to rescue a piece of history for his museum.
A lot of these are being cut up. There's only several hundred left.
But federal agents say he was building an arsenal, hoodwinking the government into thinking he had disabled the personnel carriers as required.
Well, he just didn't do it.
The Department of Energy had been the last government agency to own the personnel carriers, but when its inspectors went looking for them at McLean's so-called museum, they found a warehouse full of weapons.
There are some awfully dangerous equipment out there that are in his hands.
Such as?
Such as a modern tank and several Vietnam-era tanks, other armored personnel carriers, lots of rounds of automatic weapons ammunition.
According to an affidavit filed in federal court, McLean sold 4 of the personnel carriers. One ended up in California, the others in Colorado, Indiana, and Michigan. Who bought them?
The agents told me that they interviewed one of these people who acquired the armored personnel carriers, and he had a loaded gun there on the desk, and in back of him was a wall of automatic weapons.
Investigators are now trying to determine whether this black market in military hardware was something more than just a money-making scheme. They are pursuing one lead which links one of the buyers to the Michigan militia. David Martin, CBS News, the Pentagon.
Here in London, it's the eve of a great celebration of VE Day. 50 years ago this weekend, peace came to Europe. But the celebration will take place with clouds and thunder in the distance. 50 years after peace came to Europe, war and suffering are spreading again in the Balkans. Croatia is the latest battleground, where the Croats now have struck back against the Serbs. CBS News correspondent Alan Pizzi is there.
The Croats began burying their dead today, but there are fears that this may not be the end of the killing. This region has a history of violent retribution. In the town of Pakrac, Croatian police have taken control, and the UN is unable to do more than watch them. Serb civilians who stayed through the fighting ventured out today, but were unsure of how far to go. The army told me to stay, this old woman says. Anyone capable of bearing arms is a different matter. After the defeated Serbs handed in their weapons, Croat forces took away between 800 and 900 men. They have been seen by UN monitors, but aren't expected to be able to go home in the foreseeable future, if ever. The Croats claim they are only looking for war criminals, and at least the prisoners do have the security of international attention. But in every village, away from UN posturing over human rights, are stories like Mara Gashesha's. My son was taken away, she sobs. I don't know where my 3-month-old grandchild is. Perhaps out of compassion, perhaps for the camera, the Croat police chief assigns men to help her search. At a house in the next village, she finds news. They went for a medical checkup, her friend says. They went in the yellow car. In a makeshift clinic, there is a baby. It's not Mara's grandchild. But outside, she finds the yellow car and something to hold while she keeps looking. The baby's blanket. A small but very human right. Alan Pizzi, CBS News, Takrach.
Coming up later, the view from here in Britain, what they really think of us.
Fruit and fiber can't hang out with ordinary cereals. So many flavors, it's one mixed up taste. There it is! All those juicy raisins and dates, it could go with the fruit. Then again, so many chunky walnuts, it could fit in here. But with toasty oat clusters and crispy flakes, it's so good, there's only one place for it. Post Fruit and Fiber cereal, loaded with so many flavors, it's one deliciously mixed up taste.
While a brother may be hard to propel, the Hoover Power Drive is self-propelled, making cleaning so easy, even a brother could do it.
Hoover, nobody does it like you.
Weeds keep coming back? Then kill the roots with Roundup. No root, no weed, no problem. Roundup.
I keep asking myself, why didn't you see a doctor sooner? All that pain Dad could have avoided, his stomach was always bothering him. Dad's. But the doctor had good news, had great news. The doctor said Mylanta.
Nothing soothes heartburn faster than Mylanta liquid. For occasional heartburn and acid indigestion, doctors recommend Mylanta most, even over prescription drugs.
My doctor said Mylanta.
I'm Charles Osgood. The Art of Survival. See some remarkable creations done by American POWs during World War II. We'll be in London this Sunday morning.
What a great idea he had. Have the FBI secretly plant tracking devices in airplanes before they're sold to drug dealers. Why didn't it work? 60 Minutes, Sunday.
The U.S. jobless rate is up. The Labor Department says unemployment rose 0.3 of a point in April to 5.8%. And for the first time in 2 years, the number of new jobs declined. This is fueling fear by some of a possible recession. But our economics correspondent, Ray Brady, is here now with a different view. Ray?
Connie, we're looking at a period like 1985-86, a slow economy with some rise in unemployment, but a period that ends with a pickup, not a recession. Behind all this, the Federal Reserve. Its higher interest rates are now biting hard. Housing's off nearly 10%. On the plus side, though, exports are strong. The key thing, does unemployment keep rising, or is some of this a quirk, as the Labor Department says? Still, unemployment's a hot political potato, so the Federal Reserve probably won't raise interest rates, and some economists now say those rates could come down later this year. Connie?
Economics correspondent Ray Brady, thank you. At the O.J. Simpson murder trial today, the battle over blood. Outside the presence of the jury, Simpson's lawyers told the court that FBI test results show there was a chemical preservative in blood found at the crime scenes. That, they contend, means the blood was planted. But prosecutors said their reading of the test results is that there was no preservative in the blood. All this setting the stage for a battle of the experts in front of the jury. Meanwhile, Judge Ito is telling lawyers for both sides to speed things up because the jurors are getting bored. One of the few people who can actually see the jurors is Vanity Fair writer Dominic Dunn, who has a permanent seat in the courtroom and joins us again tonight as our expert witness. Dominic, there was a very emotional moment during the trial this week when O.J. Simpson was described as breaking down when he saw these photos of a very bloodied Nicole Brown Simpson. How would you describe that moment?
Well, Connie, the pictures that were flashed on the monitor and on the big screen were particularly grisly and particularly graphic. It was greatly exaggerated in the press that he broke down and cried. He actually did not break down and cry. There were tears in his eyes, and he covered his eyes with his hands.
We've heard so much about friction among the jurors. Does it still exist?
Do you know, Connie, I think it does not exist anymore. Losing Mrs. Harris and now Tracy Hampton has somehow brought these jurors together.
And finally, Dominic, the nation has been gripped by the Oklahoma City tragedy. How has that affected the trial, if anything?
I think that the terrible event in Oklahoma has put this trial into perspective. The Fellini-like experience that it has been all this time has sort of stopped. And a very interesting thing happened on Saturday night at the Lakers game. Robert Shapiro, who was cheered, got a standing ovation at the Rose Bowl game, was booed at the Lakers game on Saturday.
Dominic Dunn, thank you. In a moment, we'll go back to Dan Rather in London, reporting on the 50th anniversary of VE Day.
Everybody has morning breath. Unfortunately, not everybody has scope.
When I get gas, I feel like this. Painfully bloated. That's why I use Gas-X.
Gas-X has the most powerful medicine to fight gas faster than antacids.
So I feel like me again.
Painful gas needs the power of Gas-X.
Only one defined agility like Edwin Moses. Only one embodied control like Evelyn Ashford. Only one personified endurance like Frank Shorter. Only one runs like this. Seville STS with the North Star system. The great performers are always creating a higher standard.
A sparkling ship on crystal waters is coming.
Absolutely gorgeous. It was so much fun.
The perfect lobster is coming.
Our waiters, they would do anything for us, any time.
Perfection is coming.
It's like a gift from the captain.
Memories are coming. 3 or 4 days in Royal Caribbean's Bahamas are coming. You've got some Royal Caribbean coming.
How much do you pay for a minute of long distance overseas?
I'd say about $1.65 a minute to Australia.
$2 a minute?
I don't like to look at the phone bill because it's usually so much.
Introducing Sprint Sense International. Simply great rates to anywhere in the U.S. and now to anywhere in the world.
65 cents a minute to Korea? 65 cents for Australia?
No gimmicks, no nothing.
That's a great deal.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Call now for Sprint Sense International and get up to 100 minutes free.
Let's go to the show. Buddy McGirt goes toe-to-toe against Lightning Joe Gaddy in a junior middleweight bout. Sunday on the CBS Sports Show.
VE Day signaled the end of World War II in Europe. Join Dan Rather in London for a special series of reports. VE Day, 50 years later, Monday on the CBS Evening News.
London tonight is getting ready to lead the world in marking the 50th anniversary of VE Day. Queen Elizabeth began the weekend of events with a speech to Parliament at 900-year-old Westminster Hall, which survived German bombs in World War II. Meanwhile, preparations were going ahead for the public celebration in Hyde Park. Up to 1 million people are expected to attend the festivities over the next 3 days. Britain today looks a lot more like America than it did on VE Day half a century ago. That's right. You can see it in the clothes people wear, the music they like, the games they play. American culture has had a tremendous impact here. But lately, when the British look our way, many are turned off by what they see. Correspondent Mark Phillips reports on America through British eyes, then and now.
Years ago, the image of America was exported by the boatload, and the well-worn catchphrase about Americans being overpaid, oversexed, and over here pretty well summed it up.
They were like something from Hollywood.
Get a load of this. And Hollywood had to make films telling them how not to behave.
Hiya, babe. What you doing tonight?
Fire watching.
What are you having?
Today, America is viewed through a new lens, television. And what's on? A different image, a bombed-out building in Oklahoma.
There are an awful lot of bodies there to be brought out as well.
And a different reaction.
You know, a sort of country in trouble in some way.
And viewed through a grisly murder trial in L.A.
The trial of O.J. Simpson, weeknights from 7:30.
Live coverage of the Simpson trial on during prime time here has more than doubled the ratings of the station that carries it and made a celebrity of the American lawyer who explains what's going on.
Everybody is interested in money, sex, power, celebrity, and they see all of these things in the Simpson trial.
So what image is created of America now?
It doesn't make your opinion very high, I'm afraid.
I think that the picture being drawn of American society is kind of a gunslinging, freewheeling, mud wrestling.
There's nothing new in transatlantic criticism. It's worked both ways for years, usually done with humor and good cheer.
For instance, this kid here, that's a threepenny, you know. Threepenny. Threepence. Threepence. Is that right? Threepence? That's right. Good kid. But he talks. I like it. How much do you want? 46.
But now the focus here is on the less amusing aspects of American society, of danger, even anarchy, of fallen heroes and bloody crimes. Joan Nicholson, who once thought all Americans come from Hollywood, now watches the trial every night.
And this business of the jurors and black against white and all that is dreadful.
As they commemorate VE Day here, they may reflect on how they used to view their American cousins. Brash back then, even arrogant, but glamorous and with their hearts in the right places. Now the view is tainted, viewed through the remains of a bombed-out building and through a gruesome double murder trial in Hollywood itself. Mark Phillips, CBS News, London.
Real meat protein, bone-building calcium, and a big meaty taste.
Pam Lefevre, top breeder of champion English setters, talks about pedigree mealtime.
Dogs deserve the best we can give them. My dogs love pedigree mealtime. See for yourself. These round, meaty bites tell you mealtime is full of real meat protein. And the bone shapes show you how rich it is in bone-building calcium. Pedigree mealtime has everything a dog needs to stay in peak condition, including a great meaty taste. When it comes to nutrition, nothing beats pedigree.
Pedigree, developed with vets, recommended by top breeders.
30 years ago, we promised to take care of each other.
Seems like only yesterday.
And today we're taking better care of our health with Ensure.
More than a vitamin supplement, Ensure is a delicious drink with all the nutrients adults need to help stay healthy, active, be energetic.
Drink Ensure as a meal.
Or in between meals.
Ensure is recommended #1 by doctors as a source of complete balanced nutrition.
Ensure. To your health, honey.
Oh, to our health.
Back with more about the shocking treatment people are receiving at Oldsmobile stores. After an hour of browsing, asking questions, and 2 cups of coffee, our undercover reporter prepared for the hassle of haggling. Fortunately, she moonlights as a divorce attorney. To her surprise, she didn't have to haggle. Apparently, her retailer gave her his best price up front. If her new Cutlass Supreme is any indication, she obviously thought so too. It's your money.
The skies of London behind me were the scene of some of the most spectacular battles of World War II, the Battle of Britain. But those of us who grew up during the war remember it more in sounds than in images. Back then it was radio that brought the war into our living rooms. We remember the voices and powerful rhetoric of Hitler, Churchill, Roosevelt. And we also remember the voices that reported the war under fire.
And this is London. This is Edward Morrow speaking.
This is William L. Shire speaking to you from Berlin.
This is Eric Severide speaking in Paris.
These were the other voices of World War II, the broadcasters, Morrow, Severide, Shire, Collingwood, and many more. They brought the war into our homes 50 years ago and helped us understand. The leader, the best of them, was Ed Murrow, who calmly and politely, day by day, took us there.
Permit me to tell you what you would have seen and heard had you been with me on Thursday. It will not be pleasant listening.
And it wasn't pleasant listening. That night, Murrow took us into the concentration camp at Buchenwald. Another night, he took us to watch the British Parliament.
The Prime Minister brought all his oratorical powers to the appeal for aid to the Soviet Union. His plea was based on a combination of humanitarian principles and national self-interest.
And just before the war, he reported from Vienna.
We lift the right arm a little higher here than in Berlin, and the Heil Hitler is said a little more loudly.
When the war began, he told us what it looked like on the streets of Britain.
Half an hour ago, I could read street signs in the flash of anti-aircraft batteries. Little patches of sparks on the pavements marked the point where shrapnel fell.
And what the war looked like from the air.
The flak looked like a cigarette lighter in a dark room. One that won't light. Sparks, but no flame. The sparks crackling just above the level of the cloud tops.
And from the belly of that same Lancaster bomber, D for Dog, on a bombing raid to Berlin, he told us how it felt.
I began to breathe and to reflect again that all men would be brave if only they could leave their stomachs at home.
From the steps of a church in London's Trafalgar Square, Murrow's same matter-of-fact tones brought us the sound and feeling of an air raid as he watched Londoners taking cover.
People are walking along quite quietly. We're just at the entrance of an air raid shelter here, and I must move this cable over just a bit so people can walk in.
That cable he was so concerned about there was attached to his microphone, just like this setup. That cable was just one of many obstacles to broadcasting in wartime Britain. This cumbersome BBC machine that was attached to it was another. In those days, Murrow had to record his reports on disc before they could be transmitted, literally cutting the grooves as he spoke. Another obstacle was national security. Prime Minister Churchill insisted on complete control over all broadcasts about the British war effort, and that also applied to Murrow.
For reasons of national as well as personal security, I am unable to tell you the exact location from which I'm speaking.
But in many ways, Murrow was at his best when he talked about people.
But I do know that that strange individual called the common man shows no symptoms of decadence or decay. They seem to have dug back into their history and come to the conclusion that Britain owes to its history the will to win.
And as Murrow reported that the British had dug back into their history, he also noted that they had the same resolve in their literature.
Another year, another deadly blow, another mighty empire overthrown, and we are left, or shall be left, alone. The last that dared to struggle with the foe.
The words of the poet William Wordsworth, the voice of Edward R. Murrow, reporting from London more than 50 years ago. Part of our world then and now. I'll be here covering the VE anniversary through the weekend and the week ahead.
Bob Schieffer will be here tomorrow. Thank you for joining us. For Dan Rather and all of us at CBS News, have a good weekend.
CBS News. This is CBS.